When I set out to write Secret Museums, I wanted to move past the tidy shorthand of tragedy that had sprung from the details of Lipsett's life and return to the films themselves. Lipsett was an absurdist working within a public institution, the National Film Board of Canada, that only valued clarity and therefore didn't understand him. His films were ambiguous, pitting irreconcilable ideals against each other. I place him in the lineage of absurdist art, in which Samuel Beckett's comedy becomes a form of heroism, and Albert Camus' divorce between ideals and reality keeps progress under suspicion. The collage, with its innate power to interrogate its sources, serves as a perfect vehicle for this stance. And two structuring ideas helped me to interpret Lipsett's films. The first is, and this might be familiar to some of you, the idea of the histomap, right? Those outsized Rand McNally charts, giant timelines that used to hang in every classroom, that try impossibly to hold all of human history and evolution and world religions in a single vertical cascade. And their density mirrors Lipsett's profuse montage. They're the dream of total comprehension pressed into a small container. The second is Warren McCullough's notion of anastomotic knowledge, information as confluences, like a river being fed by countless branches. Those countless branches that are full not of water, but of information, the flow of which forms into our central knowledge. For Lipsett, this became a method for his collages, an art that was fed by many streams. Lipsett's films were considered funny in their day, and only later after his suicide were they misinterpreted, I argue misinterpreted, as omens from a troubled mind. Their humor begins in fast mechanical rhythms, images that are moving faster than the eye, and matures into a sardonic play between sound and image. Like the histomap, they represent a copious inventory, the short film as a cramped vessel straining to hold too much, finding both meaning and comedy in that failure. Lipsett's breakthrough, Very Nice, Very Nice, the first film that begins tonight's program, began as a sound collage. He cut it on tape. It evolved into a catalog of a civilization, one that speaks in platitudes in the glow of the bomb. In its final form, Lipsett's film delivers a riotously funny survey of good and evil, focused on urban alienation and consumer aggression. Its meaning settles chillingly in a mushroom cloud. The soundtrack constantly trips itself. Rehearsed speeches break, narrators fumble, interviewees ramble, and a monastic chant, voiced, I suspect, by Lipsett himself, it sure sounds like him to me, is answered by the showbiz clap that gives the film its title. Very nice, very nice. In its visual composition, it is mostly composed of stills, street photographs and mass culture images animated by hard cuts, sometimes driven by a soundtrack of Crazy Otto's ragtime piano or a military drum. Moving images only intrude a few times, the bomb test, a rocket launch, a face that distorts in front of us, a rostrum pan over classical nudes. The velocity is deliberate, a strenuous density that undermines comprehension and throws us into the disoriented crowd. With 2187, the second film you'll see today, Lipsett minimizes the comic jabber and tunes his collage towards spiritual desire and technological discomfort. The title emerges from a remark about dehumanization and acknowledgement given on the soundtrack by, as I've mentioned before, cybernetics philosopher Warren McCullough, one of Lipsett's great influences, who says, somebody walks up and you say, your number is 2187, isn't it? And boy, does that person smile. Lipsett builds McCullough's observation into a theological reckoning about recognition and personhood in a world of masks. The picture draws mainly on Lipsett's own 16mm cinematography, candid street shots, staged scenes with friends, verite-style events. This is in contradiction to the notion that his work is all made out of strictly found material. The sound in this film has shifted markedly from the earlier films, still percussive and truncated, but now stitched from fragments that are both earnest and profound, with antiphonal gospel and jug band music meeting the image rather than driving it. The babble of empty speech becomes here a crisis of spiritual expression. Words fail to communicate our sorrows and our needs. In the larger arc that I trace in this book, 2187 marks a drift from the assault on cliché to the melancholy of seekers. It's still comic, but these jokes catch in the throat. Freefall answers with ecstasy and collapse. Lipsett takes from Dylan Thomas's concept of the life force and the Miltonic fall, imagining a plummeting civilization that paradoxically discovers its only possible freedom in hell. And he makes that fall visible in the shooting itself. The camera becomes kinetic and abstract. Pixelation alternates with his trademark caessuras. And the film's proposals, in his proposals for them, when he talks about sleuthing and indeterminacy, what he would ultimately pursue isn't that kind of John Cage chance, but an audience's detective work amid fragmentation. So 2187 pursues the elusive soul of a technologized world. Freefall lets the energy pattern of the age write itself directly into form. And finally, with a trip down memory lane, Lipsett turns outward to the archive and makes a film that is composed entirely of found materials. The film is a time capsule, a copious inventory of curious visions that scans the recent historical record for images that might become myths of a contemporary age. Unlike other compilation films, it shares kinship with the Mondo travelogues of the era, massive, ill-defined topics populated with strange evidence toward no consoling conclusion. I read Memory Lane against the later Voyager time capsule, the Golden Records. Both are messages in cosmic bottles, but Lipsett's bottle returns to us as an absurd mirror where inventions fulfill themselves by failing, like we see the Zeppelin burning, we'll see the Triphibian car crashing. And here modern feats rhyme darkly with sideshow acts. His trip is our collective stumble on our own shoelaces. Have a nice trip, see you next fall. Across these four films, the secret museum of the book's title keeps taking shape, and in his last film for the National Film Board of Canada, End Zone, Lipsett would give the phrase to his boxes of clippings. But the idea applies more widely, a personal cabinet of curiosities in which the soul keeps contradictory artifacts side by side, pictures of samurai with pictures of soap ads, prayers sounding against laugh tracks. Meaning can flash in the gap and can change as fast as it wants to. The apocalypse for Lipsett is nothing so simple as a bang or a whimper. The bomb is a messenger, man and machine are hopelessly confused. The collapse, the last one, the one we're living through right now, shall be ecstatic in the valley of deflation left by the newsreel's vanquished optimism. So how should we look and listen to these films today in a world with its own contradictions, a world where we're constantly speeding through and also absolutely stagnating? First, we shall recover the laughter, and it isn't a comforting laughter, but a strange laughter that lampoons a dread reality. Second, we'll honor the density of these films. Short by design, their containers are deliberately too small. The compression produces an immense pressure, as sublime and commanding as the bomb itself. And finally, we accept that the search for recognition, for grace, for release is a sincere one, even when the tone is puckish. In 2187, the voices are wise, searching, and frustrated. The free fall of free fall is both terror and exhilaration. In Memory Lane, the oracle is also a carnival barker. In Arthur Lipsett's work, joy and dread are paired in a greater ecosystem, a world revealed through paired opposites. His films insist on pleasure and suffering, and that's the key to his secret museum. Support the arts in Canada. Thank you so much.